My wife cheating on our 10-year anniversary. My wife, 35 female, and I were married 5 years ago yesterday. She has been working on a large project for many months. She has been working additional hours, staying late and coming in early for the past 4 weeks or so in order to meet the deadline. This is a career-changing opportunity for her. I'm in the construction industry. Because of the weather, we've been working long hours attempting to make up for lost time. So I work 12 hours on beautiful days, occasionally a bit longer. I don't go in if it's pouring when I wake up. When it begins, we are sometimes sent home because it is too unsafe. I normally spend an hour or two at the gym. We began at 6 a.m. on Thursday, and it began to rain heavily by mid-morning. We're leaving. As usual, I head to the gym. I cut my exercise short and hurry downtown to meet my wife Megan, to offer her flowers and, if possible, to make preparations for dinner that night. We haven't seen each other much this week. I went to bed at 9 p.m. since she wasn't home. She had phoned earlier to say she was working late. This has been the case for the last month. I came to a halt, picked up some flowers, and walked inside her building at 12:30. Nishol was working at the front desk. I informed her that since I arrived later than expected, she may place the flowers on Megan's desk. I don't believe they went to lunch yet, so why don't you drop them off yourself, she replied. To return to the offices, she buzzed the door. The location was desolate. When I arrived at her office, the door was locked. Unless the receptionist informs me that she is in a meeting, I invariably stroll in. When I go in, a man is nuzzling her neck, and she is stretching back over his head. She is simply laughing because she can. We have to get this done, they say. I've been hit in the belly. I stepped out, slapped the flowers down, and yelled, "Happy anniversary." I didn't hear what she said. I simply walked by Nishol, said goodbye, and walked away. I made it to the elevators and out of the building when my phone began to ring. I cried my eyes out the whole way home. I went into the garage, retrieved my camping stuff from the rafters, and drove away. I traveled for almost 2 hours to a state park. I didn't know what to do. I had no choice but to flee. I walked a 3-hour trek on a path we'd been on before. I don't drink much, therefore I didn't have any liquor, so I just sat there thinking. In retrospect, I'm pleased I was in a hurry. Generally, I pack a fortified cow. We have black bears with me while I'm camping, which normally drive them away, but get hostile if there are hungry or young around. I may have eaten the barrel that night if I hadn't been feeling so bad. Megan was blowing up my phone, so I switched it off. I exited the park to get reception and got on the phone to check whether my dear buddy had phoned. I returned his call. He said that Megan phoned him to check on me and ensure that I didn't do something dumb. We chatted for a while, and I told him I needed to think about it, and we up on Friday. So, as I'm thinking about it, I look through our marriage from beginning to end to see what I missed. We come from diametrically opposed backgrounds. My grandfather and my mother reared me. He taught me how to live my life. He had a comment for everything. He warned me that marriage would be the most difficult job I had ever had, and that you would have to work on it every day. I miss him so much. We didn't have much, and we overheard Mom and Grandpa arguing over expenses. They worked hard, and my brother and I did not miss anything we were aware of. Megan was born into wealth, not extravagant, yet quite comfy. I went to a fantastic college, I usually wear nice clothing, I have a new automobile, and so on. And she is really stunning, a 10 out of 10. If she coughed, I make a joke about the silver spoon becoming trapped in her throat. We met, hit it off, and began dating. Ah, day. Couldn't believe such a lady would ever be with me. We had been dating for quite some time before she informed me about her parents and way of life. We were dubbed the model pair by our friends because they believed we were so attractive that we had to be models. Families were not as understanding, fearful that economic inequalities might come into play. Her father and I began to get along, but it took some persuasion to persuade her mother. We intend to marry when she graduates and obtains her first job. We agreed that we would expose one another to our respective lifestyles. I took her whitewater rafting, she brought me to the symphony we ziplined, we went to an art opening, and so on. We decided that we needed to get a sense of one another's interests. She was ecstatic with the additional active activities we undertook. I like symphonies and the like. I currently possess 2 tuxedos. I glanced back and noticed no red flags. Her first 2 jobs she resigned because the males were trying to get into her trousers. She was paraded in front for picture opportunities. When other newcomers were not invited to conferences, I was. A colleague attempted to get her intoxicated at a conference meal, then tried to push himself into her room at night. She resigned, then quit again at the next job. This third employment includes some female partners, and none of such nonsense exists in her company. She seemed to be quite joyful. We seemed to be quite joyful. So, now that it's Friday, I'm back at home. I dialed her number. When asked where she was, she said she was back at work. In attitude, I said that her marriage is taking a back seat to her profession. She said, what was she to do since I wouldn't talk? That's okay. She'll be there in 1 hour. So I sit and wait. I want to salvage our relationship. If I'm not contributing enough, I'd want to make up for it. Of course, I'd want to know why, but I'm not going to take a "I'm not sure" response. How do I put this? What else should I inquire about? I know I'll get upset and forget things, so we'll go over everything again and again over the next 3 days. What she did was bad, but please, no derogatory remarks. She is still my wife. Thank you ahead of time. Story 2. Husband disrespects his wife in multiple ways, including a secret family. It's not about me. My auntie was recently arrested after her husband contacted the authorities to report that she had physically abused him. They are both in their late 60s. Auntie had to spend the night in prison. Her spouse told us that the injuries he showed the cops were from his construction work. They were arguing, and he was afraid for his life since Auntie was growing enraged. Auntie is a pretty quiet lady, so seeing her raise her voice is unsettling. The disagreement stemmed from something she learned while they were on vacation. She snooped through her husband's phone while he was sleeping because she suspected he had a hidden family in the homeland. During her investigating, she discovered that her husband was in a group chat with his pals, giving them covert photographs of her in the shower or changing. Not only that, but she discovered he had another mistress. There were bills for high-end bags and jewelry that she had never seen before. She also saw text messages exchanged between the two. She knows it's not the lady from the hidden family since she knows everyone in the secret family. Auntie waited until they returned from their trip to confront him with the hidden images, mistress, and family. Her husband paid the $4,000 bond, and she is scheduled to appear in court shortly. She is presently accumulating evidence in preparation for their divorce. All of their children are adults over the age of 40, and she is requesting their assistance. This, in my opinion, is a poor concept. My grandparents have their own point of view. Auntie despises her hubby since she is grandma's sister. However, my grandfather claims that having numerous mistresses and families is common in the homeland, so the ladies are overreacting. He also said that if he had more money, better legs, and more spare time, he would hire his own mistress. There was no fight. I'm appalled. Auntie should see a divorce lawyer without informing anybody. As time goes on, I may provide an update. I truly want Auntie to feel appreciated and not feel obligated to share her spouse just because it is customary in the homeland. Anyone may cheat, even someone you've been married to for 50 years. Just because they're older doesn't mean they can't get away with it. Update. She forgave him, and they are still married. I wasn't there for the court hearing, but from what I gather, he is still living with her, and she has changed her mind about divorcing him. I'm at a loss for words at this point. If that had been me, I would have walked away and never returned. He'd be out of my home. At this point, there is nothing more to say or do. I simply have to concentrate on my own life and hope that this is all part of Auntie's long-term plan to conduct the divorce in secret. But I'm depressed. Auntie is in my thoughts. I'm also saddened that this may happen more often than I thought. I often wonder whether she changed her views because of her motherland's ideals. Was it a religious belief? It's not because of the children. Their eldest is beyond 40 and lives somewhere with his or her own wife and children. I'm sorry that none of us were able to reach a satisfactory conclusion. I suppose I'll let Auntie go for the time being.